Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Fratello Talks. I'm your host Nacho, and today I'm joined by
RJ
and
Lex.
And we're going to be talking about our experience at Geneva Watch Days, some highlights, and also a little bit about the show. Of course, before we do that, let's jump into wrist check. RJ, what's on your wrist today?
I missed my Speedmaster last week because I brought a brigade to Geneva Watch Days.
Ah, of course.
So I'm wearing my Speedmaster caliber 321. So Ed White or Gene Cernan, as you will. And
Gene, was it the bass player from
Gene Simmons.
Kiss? Gene Simmons.
Gene Simmons. No, this is Gene Cernan. Other
Does
guy.
Gene
Other
Simmons
Gene.
have a... He's a watch enthusiast, but does he have Omegas? That I don't know.
Maybe. I mean,
If he's wise.
We'll have
He
to
has one.
contact his PR and confirm that.
I think he has a Lana.
Wow, what a guy. What a guy.
Yeah, anyway.
Perfect. So absence made the heart grow fonder, and now you're back with I don't know if you could call it the finest Speedy in your collection, because there's quite a few, but certainly a highlight of your Speedmaster.
Yeah, not sure if it's the finest, but it's one that I really enjoy wearing. It's hand built by Omega, so it's a different production, not a regular production line, but a separate workshop where they also make the tourbillons, the central tourbillon watches.
Yeah.
And I think the bracelet is really awesome. The flat link,
that's really nice.
The caliber is super nice, and it's just very true to the original.
Yeah.
And I call it Gene Cernan because it was based on the scans they made of Gene Cernan's watch that he wore during Apollo 17, which is in a museum. And they did these X-ray scans basically to rebuild the movement.
Cool. Very cool. Awesome watch. And I think we move on to something similar yet different with you, Lex. What's on your wrist?
I wore this all week last week.
Yeah.
And I just couldn't say goodbye because it just feels... It's the relaunch, the replica.
1996?
No,
that's the trilogy.
Yeah. They made a box with 22 mission ones and that one, and then spare movement.
Yeah.
And then in 1998, they came with that one.
Yeah.
Very cool.
So, it's just a perfect
It's
watch
lovely.
to wear.
Broad arrow hands, applied logo at 12, and you're wearing it on a
Joseph
sort of
Bonny.
Joseph Bonny rubber.
It's a rubber, but it looks like a
Rubberized,
This is just super comfy to wear.
Looks cool.
Very, very
And
nice.
it's just
Vintage vibes.
What are you wearing?
I'm doing the same thing you did. This was the watch that kind of saw me through the days those sweaty days in Geneva, and I'm still wearing it. It's my Tudor Pelagos FXD USN, so the black dial version, nice. And I'm wearing it on the NDC straps because it feels like a very suitable combination. It's the OEM Marine Nationale elastic material. With a yellow stripe down the middle, and I just really like it. This is like a single pass NATO style version of the strap, nice. And I really like it. That was my watch for the show, is alongside the 2254. But that one's home resting.
Yeah,
cool.
Did you take it swimming?
I did not take it swimming. No, I did earlier this year, even doing a little bit of diving, but not during the time in Geneva. Sadly, I didn't get to. That's still something that needs to be ticked off.
A swim in the lake.
A swim in the lake. Yeah,
okay. But you did so, Lex, right?
Yeah.
I saw it
a couple of times. Yeah,
nice.
Yeah, it's nice.
Perfect. So other than wearing watches and jumping into lakes, what else? What was our impressions first of all of the show this year? Did it feel different to other years? This is now the fourth year running, I believe.
It did feel different.
Yeah.
I think. I don't know about you, Lex, because I think you've also been to all, but I think in the beginning it was a bit more freestyle.
Yeah.
And now it became a bit more formal.
Yeah, it's a bit more tight.
More formal every year with appointments and...
They became very strict in what was happening in the lobby. If you would show your own watch to someone, there was a security guys looking. Is he not a brand? Is he not a pirate brand that feeds off of our investment?
From a few people that because the event takes place in a few different hotels, but one of the hotels is Beau Rivage.
Yeah. It's the main hub, I suppose.
Yeah, I think so. In the lobby, there's a lot of people, of course, a lot of watch people. And I heard from several of them that when they discussed watches with each other, that someone from the hotel came over to say, hey, you can't talk watches here.
Okay. Yeah, that was
interesting.
And I also get it. I mean, there are also brands just coming in and just you can't steal time. But there was this one thing I heard. There was a group of collectors that had lunch at Beau Rivage. Yeah. And what do watch collectors do? They take off their watch, they pass it around. So there was watches everywhere. And then they actually asked them, please, gentlemen, people, don't do that. Otherwise, we'll have to escort
For me,
you
it
out
feels
of the
a bit.
building.
I think it's just. I get it somehow that it's the rule, but they also need to take it as a little bit collateral damage, because I think they make so much money by renting these suites out to the brands. That this is just collateral.
But maybe it's orders that have been given by the brands to some degree to say, hey, people should only be attending.
Of course, it's
appointments.
not the hotel that does this. This is of course the organization.
But I still,
with it.
I don't know.
Yeah, it still feels a bit wrong to almost like smother the passion that people share, especially if you're talking about the watch on your wrist. It's not like you're pretending like you're selling it to other people or something. I mean, it's
well, with some collectors you never know.
Yeah, of course, and people might be there with their own brand, and I know of people that will walk around and are there mostly out of curiosity, but I get that they're a bit cautious.
You will have there will be a little bit of scavenging, a little bit of pirating, and I also think
It's always has been the case.
It always happened during Basel World. It happened during SIH watching someone. It will always happen.
It's just collateral.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's ever going to steal the spotlight, though.
No. Overall, very positive.
I think so.
This year, I think so.
It was well organized. It's a bit more strict, but I think it was also a bit more like an oiled machine. There was also the first one, for example.
So many more brands. The amount of
more than 60 brands, I believe, right?
It's insane. It was super.
How do we feel about the fact that this year was scheduled through the weekend? Because other years it's been a little bit more during the week, and this year, as we record this, it's ongoing. We're back in The Hague, obviously, but
but there's still 3 watch journalists now active in Geneva.
But perhaps the weekend is more for the public. But I think that what's a bit sad is that there are a lot of these talks and keynote kind of things ongoing, and we were not able to attend any of them basically because if we're there for a concentrated period of time.
I also don't think it's for us.
Those are more for the public.
But I also heard some very mixed comments from brands that they were not that happy with this whole weekend thing, and then a Monday the scheduling smack bang after right after the summer break was also a bit stressful. So that the timing and then also the weekend, including weekend, it was not ideal.
For them, it's working Wednesday to set up through until Tuesday.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
It's a little bit. It's a bit much.
Yeah, and they also feared that. Yeah, some also said, well, on Sunday we don't have any appointments.
Well, I think the weekends is a bit for collectors and enthusiasts because they probably have jobs that they need to
of course,
throughout the week. And for us, the week is fine. So we went there on Wednesday, we start on Thursday, and then we did Friday.
Yeah.
And then if you leave again on Saturday, it's fine. And if the weekend is for enthusiasts and collectors, that's good.
Yeah, I think so. It could have been nice, I think, if it was just shifted one day back, right? I think ended on Sunday or a couple days back, ended on Sunday. Don't put it through until Tuesday. Ended on Sunday, maybe started on Tuesday to Sunday, and then I think you're good.
Because then we can go out Thursday evening or Friday morning.
Exactly. But you also have the full. You can also set up a slightly lighter schedule.
That was it.
And what I also liked is that more brands attended. Also, brands from Swatch Group. That was new because they didn't attend any of these watch fairs since 2019.
Mm-hmm.
They had their own event back then, the Time to Move. So it was Breguet, Glashütte, and Blancpain that did their own event in the boutiques at Rue du Rhône. I think that was kind of okay.
Yeah, that was
as well.
It was well organized. We took the meetings there with Breguet, Glashütte, Original, and Blancpain, and it was really well organized. The people that showed us the watches and it was just it was really nice to attend that. I think.
Did you take the bicycle taxi back to the Beau Rivage?
No, we walked. There were no bicycle taxis there. I think it was more you could get there with bicycle taxi, but people hadn't yet. There hadn't been any that had made it there, but that would have been.
We walked everything. Nice. I think I didn't take one Uber.
No, actually,
So anyway,
it's an active week. Okay, but then going to highlights and releases. What were? Let's start with you, Lex. What were some of your highlights from the show?
The good thing is we did quite a different. We were on a different schedule, so I saw completely different things. One of the things that really struck me was the watch from Gubli.
Okay,
a very passionate watch collector turned brand owner. Mm-hmm. Gubli is the Swiss spelling of the Ghibli wind, but the name Ghibli was, of course, already taken. Yeah. because as a proud owner of a Maserati Ghibli, you know all about it.
Of course, it's in the shop. It's unsurprising.
It's a Maserati, of course. It's in the shop. And his first watch that I saw was a little bit banged up, but the attention to detail. It's a little bit of watch in the style of the. Of the integrated bracelet, high luxury sports watches. It's called and I have to say this right, I think it's the Chapter 1 Prologue. Okay. Made of titanium, but it's finished to absolute perfection. It has a retrograde second hand. It has an incredibly cool shade of blue dial. It was just very impressive to see someone with that much passion and then hire all these. It was also so nice. He just found all these artisanal people who are like the experts in this and the experts in that, and they really went all the way. So you would actually, you could even compare it to Grubbel 4C level finishing.
Wow.
But then for a price that it's under 33, excluding VAT. But the finishing of that thing, it was just insane. And the guy was so passionate. And the meeting was in Angleterre, Hotel Angleterre. Okay. We were on a table in the restaurant. There was people having lunch behind us, and they sat up there. He was part of the show. It was just very, very impressive. Cool. Also, the passion of the guy and the dedication, and that's one of the things I really like about Geneva Watch Days. Yeah. It's really about the craft. It's not so much about the marketing or a new dial collar.
Yeah. And some brands.
Although, there have been some exceptions along the way.
Yeah, but I haven't seen a lot of those. So the Ghibli was definitely one of the. Had it on my wrist. My God,
I think you'll be bringing us some of those highlights in an article later this week because obviously, like you said, we were on different, slightly different schedules. But cool that you got to see that. Yeah. And we'll jump over to you, RJ. What's the first highlight that comes to mind for you?
Absolute highlight was to Daniel Roth.
Okay.
Based on something old, what it needs is a bracelet made of gold.
Oh, but then you don't get the
more gold. Please.
Does it?
No, the Daniel Roth tourbillon in rose gold. It's based on it's the same as the yellow gold that they made, but this time it has 20 pieces only. It had a closed case back. That one. This one has a see-through case back. Mm-hmm. It's just a beautiful watch. I really love what they do and what they did with the brand.
The shape of the pillars of the tourbillon bridge.
Yeah,
they black polish the pillars of the tourbillon bridge, and they have like a conical shape. I think.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, insane.
It's beautifully done.
It's totally wild. And I think size wise, proportions wise, and then this design of the case, it sits on your wrist like nothing else, and you look at it and you kind of. Just stare at it on your wrist, and I'm much more one for sportier watches. But when you see that on your wrist, you just go, "This is really nice. It's so special." And
I could wear it every day. It would be like a watch for everyday wear.
Yeah,
so
cool.
And
usually also not a fan of pink gold myself. I prefer yellow gold.
Yeah, me too.
But I have to say, in this case, the pink gold
really
one,
nice in pink gold.
Really cool. Because the sort of the background around the timekeeping element, like the guilloche, sort of reflects that color, and it's really lovely watch.
Yeah.
Really
so that for me was the highlight, and they were in the Fairmont or Woodward.
Yeah, in the Woodward, I believe.
Woodward. Yeah, they were in the Woodward Hotel.
Yeah. Beautiful hotel.
Beautiful suite they had, and they had the yellow gold and the rose gold.
Yeah.
Really they had some. They also had some Genta models for ladies.
Oh, the Ursan.
They were a bit prototypes. They said they will change here and there, but also quite interesting.
It's better in person.
Yeah. It is better in person
than it is on the pictures and what I've seen before.
It's nice that they also do something for ladies. Beautiful watch.
And it gives you this sort of multifaceted experience where it's a watch. It looks a very unique way, but it also gives you this tactile. Like everyone who picks up one of those watches has to kind of feel the case. And it's nice because they're all a little bit different. And in the case of it's also titanium, so it's almost like weirdly light, but really cool.
No, good job by Daniel Roth, and I hope to see some other variations as well than a tourbillon, but they probably will. Mm-hmm. Then I immediately went to Chrono 24 to look at some vintage Roth watches. Yeah. You can have them for interesting amounts
Definitely.
and beautiful watches.
Yeah, it's the same with some of the Genta models. I did an article on that.
Yeah.
And you can actually have, if you want something wild,
Jessica is beautiful.
and if you want something wild from either one, then you can definitely find them for good prices.
Definitely.
There is a bridge to the Gerald Charles Ducati collaboration, but we can leave that well alone if it's not one of our highlights.
I mean, it could be a highlight. I didn't personally, I didn't see it while I was in Geneva, but I heard you and I believe also Gerard talking about it, who's the proud owner
of a 916. Yeah, exactly, and that's more of that's an homage watch. I liked it because it has the Octavio Garcia, of course. Worked at AP as a designer, and he was always a big fan of forged carbon. And this one has a forged carbon case with a ceramic bezel, and it brings back the jumping hour in the Genta design, which is I thought it was quite good. But
what's your favorite?
Yeah.
I think my favorite. I mean, Daniel Roth was a big highlight, but more in my sort of vein and style. There's two that come to mind. One is the new left-hand drive Doxa. Which is a bit of a polarizing one. I can look at it and really appreciate it and say, yeah, it's great. I love the aluminum bezel insert from the sort of Aubrey era, that the sub 600 models, and then the fact that the left hand crown is just it on that model. It can make sense for whether you wear your watch on your right or your left wrist, because it's so symmetrical anyway, and the crown is a little bit recessed. But at the same time, it's 300 pieces. It's just supposed to be something a little special. It's not for everyone, quite literally, only for 300 people, and it's just a little bit more pricey than the standard version. So that's a fun one for collectors.
It's a cool watch. It's really a watch that can only be that watch.
Exactly. Yeah, and then sort of in the same vein, but something slightly different. I found that some of the models from Fratello's sort of relaunch rebirth were quite impressive. I think that the Sea Sky collection, the chronographs, really nice. Dive chronographs. Really nicely done, very, very vintage inspired. They took all the design cues, made it really nice, and just
pricing is good. But I also feel that they will be in a price point where there's a lot of.
But they do have one really big advantage, and they're super popular in India. Yeah. And the whole production will probably be sold in India. Well, maybe 95%.
A lot of it for sure, yeah.
That's what I heard. So,
But there was a bit of everything. There were some very modern new models, and then there were at least two models that were sort of one model in particular, the deep blue, that was really like a nice vintage reissue.
That was a nice one
of this sort of 60s diver. I think that was really well done, and I was super impressed. So that for me, Fratello and Doxa were also real highlights. And there was some stuff from Oris that we can't quite talk about just yet. That was also quite nice. So
very nice.
We'll speak about that
October
when the time comes. October 18th, I believe. Yeah, and or 17th for the fair in New York. Yeah, I think that's when those will be launched. Yeah, but also really nice. Any other highlights from you?
Yeah, definitely. I have two. I have to mention if I'm allowed. First of all, it's a purple watch. It was the HYT T1 millésime.
Okay,
super cool.
I thought it would. Yeah, it was nice, and
it's just
vertical brushed.
Exactly. So no sunburst,
that makes a huge difference.
I thought I'd like the green with the red fluid more, but then I saw the purple one in person, and it has black fluid, and it matched my pink shoes very well. And it's and they have the clever the way the strap attaches to the case. It's really more or less vertical instead of horizontal, so really it's a 45 millimeter watch or something. So, but it really fits the wrist well. You can change the color of the
I like those. They had them on rubber straps. But they also had these like Kevlar looking straps. Those were awesome.
Yeah, I think they're doing a good job. But it's just of course we saw the T1 earlier this year, and we were the whole Fratello team that was present. We were really impressed. But
50 or 55K Swiss francs, right?
Something
like that. The gold one was a bit more expensive.
For HYT is also putting it at the more
absolutely,
brand.
absolutely.
Compared to this
They're trying
flying
to become a little bit more accessible, and it's also more wearable. So that was a good one, and I also have to mention if I
of course,
I have to look it up because I can't remember the name. But I had a meeting with Bernard Lederer, who in the past did Blue of BLU. And now he's more into the purist chronometer style watches, and he had a new version of the central impulse chronometer, limited to 8 pieces with a closed dial. I think it was 2 or 3 years ago. It came out with 2 holes in the dial to show the complex remontoir system and everything. And this has a closed dial, and it like a sector dial, and it's beautiful off-centered small seconds, and then you turn the watch over, you have this glass box case back, and then the stuff that happens in there is just wow.
Yeah, that movement is it's wild.
Yeah,
totally wild.
Beautiful. It's and you always have a bewildering talk with the man.
Definitely.
So I thought it was really impressive.
Yeah,
really impressive.
I think speaking of talking to someone and being always impressed by what they managed to do, I also want to mention Laurent Ferrier.
Oh yeah,
I think that it's. I always quite enjoy the meeting because Mr. Ferrier doesn't speak so much English, but I'm very glad to be able to speak with him in French. So it's always quite nice to be able to ask him some questions and get some insights and hear a little bit about where his design philosophy comes from his time working at Patek as well, and a lot of the things that he learned from Mr. Stern and how he applies that. And of course, the watch is just fantastic. The sandstone color for the classic 40, I believe. It's just a lovely looking watch, a great piece, super wearable. It's a bit of this sort of under the radar, understated luxury, but then hearing from the man himself, everything that goes into it and the philosophy behind it, it's just, you can, as simple as they might keep it sometimes, you can't help but leave that meeting thinking, damn, that was
what I also like
nice.
about the Geneva Watch Days is you have, on the one hand, you have this very extravagant and exuberant Nouvelle Horlogerie, very complicated, like BNF, HYT, Grobe Forcy in a way as well. I saw them too, very impressed, but everything was under embargo, so okay, never mind.
Maybe later.
Because the press release wasn't ready. That's what I've been told. Anyway, that's also interesting. And on the other hand, so you have that, and on the other hand, you have the classic Nouvelle Horlogerie, as in more traditional later Ferrier. That's also nice to see the two completely different paths, but at the same, the what they share is just this overwhelming passion to create something that is just stunning.
Absolutely.
And
absolutely. Yeah.
That's super nice to see.
Cool. Another highlight from you, RJ?
Laurent Ferrier definitely belongs in my highlights. I think another meeting we had with Blancpain was interesting to see the 42. It's not new, but the 50 fathoms and 42. I think that's cool. And they also showed stuff at embargo. I think that is interesting. And I like the new the Air Command.
Yeah, there's a new Air Command coming.
Yeah, this
two sizes, 36.
Yeah. They told us at the meeting, they said, this was released yesterday. And we thought,
and there's a larger one. Super nice.
On a 36 millimeter Air Command. Yeah, I know.
It's very small. But some people might like it, but I like the bigger version.
There's also a big one. There's a bigger version.
Yeah, how big is the big one?
I think 42.
42, something in between, I guess.
Okay.
But I liked it. It's nice. Great color and
really nice.
The Air Command is a good looking
beautiful watch.
Classic chronograph.
Yeah. But again, I think it was limited to 100 or 200 pieces.
It was quite limited.
And that I don't get. And for me,
that's the price?
I didn't even ask. I don't between 20 and 30, I guess, something like that. But I think it's a beautiful watch, and I also like the previous Air Command that they introduced 5 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
But as always, I find it a pity that then these are limited editions, while I believe that these beautiful models should be in the regular collection at Blancpain.
Yeah.
Why
how
not?
many?
Why not?
What is the production? The annual production, roughly?
Blancpain?
Blancpain. What do you think? I have no clue. Huh? 20?
No, more.
Yeah,
more. 20,000? No, surely more.
I think 35,000.
Yeah.
But they also make a lot of movements. I I think the movement production is much higher.
Okay, yeah.
Like 50,000 or something.
Okay.
Because they also produce movements used by Breguet, for example.
Ah, interesting.
Okay. Yeah. Then 200 is not a lot. I was thinking, the production is already very low, and maybe.
No, but I feel if you look at the Blancpain catalog, I think that there's a lot. But there's also a lot of things that are very big, and if you have some cool watches, put them in the regular collection and then make variations that are limited. But I think they need to increase their core collection with some cool pieces.
Yeah.
I think for Blancpain, one of my highlights was getting to also in French talk to Laurent Ballesta and talk to him a little bit about diving and underwater photography.
Of course,
and to get to see the Tech Gombessa in person, which was quite nice. It's great. It's very big. It's a big watch, but because it has this integrated rubber strap,
instrument.
He's rocking it, and he's the right guy to rock it. Right?
Exactly.
But it was that was also really fun with Blancpain. And then I think we can maybe talk about some highlights, perhaps from when our time at the Fairmont, where we saw both Singer Reimagined and Louis Monet.
Yeah.
So I think that there were definitely some highlights. I mean, Singer Reimagined, I believe they showed you something, RJ, right? Under embargo. But for us it was just seeing again this dive watch that's very impressive. And then for Louis Monet, there was a new, what was it called? The
Sound of Speed.
Sound of Speed. Was that it? Sound of Speed?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's chronograph, Sound of Speed.
Yeah. And it uses a vintage movement inside.
Yeah, that's Valjoux caliber 88 is inside. And beautifully done, like Louis
Absolutely.
Always is.
Absolutely.
And the dial was also nice, with a nice guilloche pattern. And then it had the subdials were made of lunar meteorite. And
true Louis Monet style.
It's Louis. It's over the top with this crazy guilloche pattern that was uniquely made for the watch. I mean, just crazy.
But for me, it was nice to see the Singer dive track again. I think that's a really cool watch.
It's beautiful. Absolutely.
So, but that was a release of during Watches and Wonders. But for me, that is still one of the highlights of 2024. Yeah, Singer dive track. I think it's a super cool watch.
Definitely. How do we feel about the collaboration, the Studio Underdog Moser collaboration, the passion fruit watches?
I don't like the colors. And what I do like is that you can see definitely the difference between a Studio Underdog watch and a Moser watch when holding them side by side. I'm not even talking about the movement, because that's very obvious, but also the dial quality, the case quality.
Maybe it's a good way to see it, to show people that what haute horlogerie is all about.
Yeah, I think that's a cool angle. But for the rest, it's 59K, so there's 58.5 for the Moser and $500 for the other one, I guess.
Yeah, man, you can't buy them separately. It's only a set.
Yeah. In some way, though, it was interesting that the two brands on such kind of almost opposite ends of the spectrum that have this sort of common sense of humor come together and create something.
A sense of humor.
A sense of humor is perhaps a sense of humor, or maybe just doing something a bit lighthearted, but surely Moser has a sense of humor. Cheese watches.
But the thing is, I as you know, because you also do, we both love Monty Python,
of course.
But I am not a big Adam Sandler fan, and I feel Moser is a little bit the Adam Sandler of the watch show world. I'm sorry, I find it very hard to
now that you
create a smile on my face when I see a cheese watch.
Yeah, the Apple Watch, the Apple Watch, together watch.
Yeah, a bit of a fair enough.
But then again, like humor watches are a very personal
thing. There's an audience for that.
There's an audience for that.
I just didn't like the colors. That's for me the thing. What I also feel is, who's benefiting? Is it Studio Underdog or is it Moser? And I think Studio Underdog has the biggest benefit from this collab.
Yeah, I think so too. Because they now get to announce that they've gone Swiss with the movement, but then they get to be seen next to a brand that is a very big brand with a big reputation in the industry for making great watches. So it definitely breathes a lot of credibility into.
But as RJ said, when people who are into Studio Underdog, they will see the Moser, and then if they pay close attention, they will actually see what it means when real artisans go to work on a watch. What happens on a dial, and that's a good thing. So it's maybe it is also for educational purposes.
And it's funny that you should mention that the price is 59K, because we can talk about something that was released, a trio of watches that was released at the same time with that similar price tag from Breitling, which was a Navitimer, Premier, and a Chronomat. What is it? The
Chronomat, the super one, the big one,
the ultra super mega Chronomat.
We had that in the office before we left.
Yeah, and that those were very impressive. A new perpetual calendar movement.
They were heavy
and very heavy. A lot of gold, especially in the case of the big chunky Chronomat. But yeah, I think. I saw an impressive trio of releases.
I like the Chronomat, I have to say. I put all three on my wrist and I thought, which one is nice?
The big one?
And I was surprised by how much I like the Chronomat on the wrist.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
I preferred the.
I don't care, man. That's definitely. It is what it is.
You get a very strong left arm from wearing that watch, but
the Premier was.
Premier was.
I think that's the
favorite.
The
safe
favorite.
bet. Yeah. And the Navitimer, I think I would have probably enjoyed it a bit more if it had a black dial instead of this gold
steel case,
brush
thinner, smaller, and a different bracelet.
Okay, if we start listing,
and an old Valjoux movement.
Beautiful. Yeah, basically just make it an 806 like we mentioned in the previous episode.
It felt a bit like that dial was a little bit too domed for me in the Navitimer. Looked a bit awkward.
But it's an impressive way to continue to celebrate the 140th anniversary and to introduce this movement. And
they used the time to introduce a book called 140 Years of Breitling.
Mm-hmm. Very original title.
Exactly. And it contains 140 stories from Breitling owners, from Breitling people, also the daughter of Scott Carpenter, the astronaut who wore the Navitimer or cosmonaut in space.
Cosmonaut.
When was it? 50-something?
64?
60-something, yeah.
Oh, 60-something, 62 or something.
Okay,
that was nice to hear those stories because they were present during Geneva Watch Days, during a dinner. And they told the story that they contributed to the book, basically. Not all 140, just a small
that was a long dinner.
Exactly.
Otherwise, that would have...
No, but it was nice.
That was 140 course dinner. It was also a world record set by Breitling.
It took 3 days. Perfect.
No, that was good.
But that was, I had to mention that. And I believe also there's 2 more that I have on my list, which were sort of external launches, but that happened at the same time. We have to look to London for a new Lange. Of course we can. New Lange.
Handwerkskunst.
Handwerkskunst, datograph. Handwerkskunst. To celebrate also... an anniversary, I think
30th anniversary,
30th anniversary of the datograph or of Lange. Okay, but so that was
the rebirth from Lange.
The rebirth of Lange. Okay, that makes sense. But it's a beautiful watch.
Yeah,
and then sneaky Tudor. Also, we landed in Geneva and suddenly got a press release. Hey, there's a new Blancpain chronograph in blue. So that was also a bit of a last minute release. A little bit like 2 years ago, the Pelagos 39.
But no one was talking about it.
No, that's true. That's true.
And I feel that is a bit strange. And for me, that's also, I think, another proof that brands should not do this.
Just
that are not part of Geneva Watch Days or Watches and Wonders. Release it like a week or 2 weeks in advance.
Yeah.
Or do it like a week or 2 weeks after the event. I think then you get more talk.
On that note, what was also ongoing during Geneva Watch Days was Watches and Wonders Shanghai.
Yes.
True.
That's also a bit curious, right? To have that going on at the same time.
Yeah, because there were some releases from Zenith. I believe Nomos was there. I'm not sure if they've done anything.
Roger Dubuis did something, but there was, of course, and that then is a more or less a Richemont party as well.
But it doesn't make sense.
So it coordinates.
Ain't no party like a Richemont party,
because a Richemont party don't stop.
I thought it was in the Richemont, but that's with a T instead of a D. The Richemont.
Wow.
Yeah, it's Geneva Watch is confusing. It's a very
silly place to make a.
But it was a good week.
It was a good week.
It was a good week. Let me just check if I have anything left on my list. I don't believe that I do, but I think we should also mention one of the impromptu meetings that we sort of squeezed in, which was a Micro Milspec. Which is a brand out of Norway, I believe. Anders, at least, is from Norway, who we spoke to, and it's a very impressive brand because they make these sort of it's inspired by military watches made for specific units, and they're very small productions made for these units. And now they've started launching more commercial watches, but of course, all with the sort of mission of being watches that could be used by the military. So they're very rough and tumble, tested to the extreme, and basically just sort of they have a very unique look. But I really like this the one that we saw, the Milgraph. It was impressive.
They reminded me a little bit about of the former Sin models, like 144 and so on, but also the older Tutimas with the Le Mans 5100 movement. It's a bit that style. Very toolish, military-like.
But a little bit more modern.
Yes,
definitely.
Yeah.
But very cool. And then, maybe one final shout out to those to those two Alpina Heritage models, which were quite nice. This little 38 millimeter dressy pieces.
They look nice.
They were really, really nice. With
then you also
nice blue hands.
Then you should also mention the white gold Frédéric Constant manufacture moon phase with the green
green malachite.
That was nice. Yeah.
Very impressive.
Malachite's awesome.
And I think
price
finally, just before we wrap things up, we also saw Gerard Perregaux, which I believe released a very crazy sort of
with the horses,
almost just showing off they had this sort of scalloped finishing on the edges of the plates. It's the Esmeralda inspired
enamel
three bridges.
The three golden bridges are just.
Cool.
I think I'm a fan of the three golden bridges. That's one of those complicated watches that got me hooked on watchmaking.
Absolutely,
the humongous three golden bridges movement, just
super impressive,
awesome.
And then of course we also saw some things under embargo, which I believe are really, really nice, but will come out a little bit later this year. So stay tuned for those.
Absolutely.
Perfect. Cool. Well, it was nice to sort of reminisce a little bit about the end of last week.
Do we have a comment of the week?
And we do have a comment of the week, of course. It is from DSKA2294.
Okay.
Not all the usernames are created equal.
They can't all be Zeger.
No, that's true. That's very, very true. And he or she says, I've always been interested in an episode on bracelets. There's so many to discuss, and asks if it's something that we'd be willing to consider. And I think that it is something that we're willing to consider.
We did a few times an article on Fratello about our favorite bracelets.
Yeah.
And I think we could do a nice podcast.
We'll revisit it on the podcast. So thanks for that comment. Thank you guys for joining me. And of course, thank you for tuning in. And remember to do so again next week for another episode of Fratello Talks. See you then.